It's the Slurpee Maker. Today we're going to talk about anything that has to do with competition again, because my channel is all about the ridiculousness of competition and how much I hate it. So particularly today, we're going to talk about how the USA's assistance to the Indian subcontinent and other parts of the world basically tells us that the USA is going to inform you on how you can achieve your goals, how you could get some, because of their multitudinous studies and methods of get some that they've discovered as the leaders of the world and the superpowers of the world. And I want to see how it does with the interracial dating system and how it affects the Indians. In this case, I might be a Pajit because I'm talking about this now at this point, but it does have to do with the fetish that white men have. And now it's called an Asian fetish because for some reason a lot of interest goes into the white and white Aryan, Anglo-Saxon, Caucasian, Nordic, Germanic system that basically Chinese and white people have it, to say it in layman's terms. They usually get together and they usually are easily considered as Asian fetishes or a white fetish that Asian girls and white men have. Now this is slowly going into white women and Chinese men because of Jungkook and other Korean stars, which isn't a bad thing. I don't really mind it. I did do interracial myself, but when it comes to a point of being with an Indian guy, it has to do with, or a Bangladeshi guy, or an Indian subcontinent guy, it has to do with you looking like poop, or you're being with a piece of poop, or it's not really an Asian fetish, it's something else. So basically, when you come across this sort of situation in public and you're like, oh wow, hey, I'm single, I want to be able to get some, I want to get married, I want to do something interracial with my life, you end up expressing yourself unconsciously or unconsciously, or trained or untrained, and you might become sort of expressing yourself, and they come across you as expressing a show. So you're showing yourself and you're expressing yourself, and it looks like a show. So people might just clap their hands and say, hey, welcome to the show. This is your opinion about the Asian fetish and the white fetish, that the preference of white skin and social media dominance that white people have, or white humans have. In this particular case, it's Chinese people and American people. They have this dominance over social media, and that being said, it's pretty much racist, but it is about not letting Pajits get some, or not letting Indians get some. Mostly Bangladeshis, because they're Muslim or something like that, or the preference that historically that they've seen what happens with Chinese and Indian. That's Nepal. It doesn't look that great. The Chinese and Nepalis, they prefer the light-skinned Chinese genes, and the Arabic Indian, they prefer the Arabic light-skin color genes. So basically, you're surrounded by multiple facets of not being able to achieve your goals and get some, because the USA also sees this as an experimentation, information that you can understand that the world is currently existing as it is now, because of these experimentations and these realizations of interracial marriages that's more ancient than the USA itself. So they come to realize that, hey, if this is what the people are saying about your interracialness, then you shouldn't really achieve any goals in the future with our women, I suppose, or our economy, or our advancements, or our success, because then you're just going to ruin our get some, and no one's going to want to get some. But we do see a lot of arguments over what's currently trending throughout the world over the past 5 years. I'm not really going to mention it because it's not going to give me any good. Now, if you're one of these guys who think that the USA is literally helping the Indian subcontinent with their allies, their sponsorship of Indians, well, then maybe you might just come across a thing called a personality development, where they'll teach you how to get some, how to achieve your goals, and how to achieve sex and success. And then when you do it in public, most majority white people and Asian people who are white human beings with their skin color, they'll just come across the idea that you're presenting a show, and they'll clap their hands and say, hey, welcome to the show. And you'll just be a show, and they'll just continue on with their interracial connections and their preferences for white skin color. I mean, a lot of races do prefer white skin color. You see it all across the world. It is very difficult to maintain this not without my spices whole regime that the Indians have developed, because, hey, Columbus was looking for Indians when he called them Native Indians, right? That's why they're called Native Indians. Now, the USA is basically going to be a leader in telling you how you should act, how you should think, how you should achieve your goals. And that in itself will create a showmanship, and people will end up looking at your characteristics, your personality, and saying, hey, welcome to the show. This guy is trying to achieve the goals. And in turn, you'll understand that it's an American success get something, and you'll end up losing your ability to achieve those goals because you know that it is Indian. On the other hand, Americans have studied and developed so much threat with nuclear politics that they'll also retain the thievery that they've committed to so that they can achieve wealth and success, although the technology is pretty much Indian. Basically, the USA is going to be like, hey, if we can tell you how you should act, how you should react, how you should achieve success, then we'll do it for the rest of eternity, because the USA is the best democracy in the world. And you're basically going to develop a personality where you're showing yourself as being an exemplary and good person for the young, but when it comes to your own people, your own age, you won't be able to examine or have them examine that success, because we all know the USA is just going to outcompete you, and it's called competition, and you're not going to be able to achieve your goals. Now, in January 2025, China and India are going through a problem, and China is basically building a huge, the world's largest dam, without really telling India, but India found out. So this partially has to do with the social media dominance and the creation of many handheld products and everyday products that China, as worldwide factories, have done. And their reason that this is continuing is because the preference that Europe has to the light skin, that it's easily able to mix up and get confused about who's actually the white skinned person who's developed a product. Because honestly, you should really look at some products and why some businesses fail is because it's not really credible with the white historical European technological advancement that Europe has invented with the colonization that they've collected their intellectual property from. And China is able to mix it up with the Europe's, and Europe's able to mix it up with the China, so they go back and forth, and now it's just a huge political stop heave that you need to stop China in 2025. But that has to do with more or less the Indian subcontinent having many ancient religions. Now, people might argue Zoroastrianism or Mazda is even more ancient, but we all know that's probably another radioactive bullshit study, just because we're able to say that Christopher Columbus was looking for India when he discovered North and South America. Now, once again, when it comes to wanting to get some from Indian men and women, it's not really a fetish like it is for Asian fetishes. It is more like you're more interested in poop. You're more interested in that curry, that smelly curry. So it's pretty negative when it comes down to Indian people as to why these current national trends or international trends are going on. It's probably because the piece of shits that white people are. So if you do like this video, hit that like and subscribe button. And you should comment too. Now, I worked in New York City my whole life. I was born and raised in New York City. At 16, I started working, and I worked with a lot of people and had a lot of customers and a lot of trips all around the city. And the community members that they're really rude and disrespectful when it comes to India, especially Bangladeshi, because they're Muslim on 9/11 and things like that. And they would use their community and their methods of achieving their goals and getsomes to really impoverish and really steal intellectual property because of the whole political engineering and social engineering that I guess the Americans have done because of the colonization guilt or the colonization getsomes that we've been achieving as colonized people, or from the tyranny that white people have done. But nonetheless, we are exuded by this whole sort of tyranny that white men have done, and we're not really able to do about it because we believe in respect, something that isn't so relevant in Europe because of the white Anglo-Saxon, Nordic, Germanic, white Aryan, Caucasian, you name it, those 5 races are all going to war at one point, and they somehow survived all these nonsenses with their scientific resources. Nonetheless, it is important that we do agree that we stay in our own land, but who's to say that the white men won't do it again? And I want some nuisance end up sharing yoga to everyone by making a studio in New York City. They all end up making a song called Deepa Doop Doop Doop, and all the white girls and white men have made their own studios so that they can make the money and profit off it because it exploded. But guess who didn't make the money so much? In return, they did become nuclear power after secrecy built, but it did explode in a negative form where the white people have completely colonized the idea of yoga, even though they've colonized it, and turmeric. But that's just ancient news now. Additionally, with the powers that are currently going on in 2025, being Japan, Korea, China, Singapore, and the USA's and Europe's having the most power, most wealth throughout the world with technology and everything, it sort of comes down to having a understanding of being able to want to achieve your goals, but knowing that you can't really mix and match with any other nation's identities, because then they'll just say it was them. But then the historical context of them finding and colonizing India or the Indian subcontinent, other nations, isn't really prevalent, because, well, then they would need to get some, and they won't be able to achieve them. If you like to achieve your goals, then you won't be able to. At the end of the day, when it comes down to the skin color preference, everyone does have a vagina and penis. So the similarities is the same. The pleasure is the same, unless you've been around and you've gotten used to it or lost the sensitivity or the tightness of it. But in reality, we are faced with multiple dilemmas that have to do with you expressing your ideas and your ways of methods that USA has told you that you'll be able to achieve your goals. When it comes down to you trying to achieve your goals and making children and making wealth and having clients and customers come to your preferable thing, when in reality they're just going to stick to their preferences, and they might even prefer Chinese people over Indian people and things like that. So most of the time, the influence that the Asians have, as opposed to what dominance is going on in the USA, is pretty nuclear, because the politics that they have is going to stop you from achieving your goals, because it's called competition. Now, if you listen to the USA on how you can achieve marriage, money, and things like that, then you're going to come off as expressing yourself, and people are going to view you expressing yourself to achieve your goals as a show, and they're going to laugh and they're going to enjoy you and talking about yourself and talking about your goals. And in return, they're going to end up having interracial aspects, and you're not going to get something. You might just be that single hermit, that single loser, that single predator in the new community, because, well, frankly, we voted, we competed, and we didn't let you. And even though you might have more experience, you might be more knowledgeable, well, she doesn't really think so. And that's another problem that we can face off in this channel, the rise of feminism. But for now, hit that like and subscribe button. Essentially, it's called a euphemism on how you can get some. What the USA will investigate is the best possible humane method, and you won't be able to achieve it because the USA has now investigated it, and now they have a voting party which is more interested in the intellect of voting and the intellect that your idea has bought for the USA. So you might not even be able to achieve it, because some lunatic is going to realize that, hey, the USA has discovered something new, and he's going to go around and say, hey, this is a white American, and guess what, your immigrant ideas are going to be gone. Even if you are an American immigrant born, American immigrant son then, or daughter, then your ideas are probably going to disappear, because, hey, the USA has discovered it. Just like how they discovered North and South America, and they discovered India when it was already there, and we had black pepper to hold the trade, that there was land before the water trade and things like that. But anyway, hit that like and subscribe.